So I am taking off for Vermont and basically hoping that the tooth recovers. The dentist says it should, but not feeling great at the moment. Oh, just for 2 months.
I'm excited for you.
And sadly, for a couple of months, I'm on my own.
Is our #1 priority and the shared responsibility of everyone on board. Contacted the airline representative for the airport police.
And yeehaw, now I get to hike to a hotel. Okay, I have a trail angel coming to grab me in the morning, so I get a couple hours of sleep first. And yeehaw, welcome to Vermont, where the weather isn't nearly as wet as I had feared so far. So I got in here a little after midnight, I think. The plane arrived on time, but then we were delayed getting unloaded because Burlington seemed like a smallish airport, and then the luggage took for bloody ever, and then I had to walk like 15 minutes to get here. But still happy I did this instead of trying to sleep in the airport, because that would have been a little miserable. Probably what Jen would have done. So my ride should be here in a couple of minutes. I'm currently waiting for the tooth painkillers to kick in. It is still hurting me a worrying amount, but I'm gonna trust my dentist. He said I should be good to go, so I'm irrigating and yeah. But this sucks. I'm worrying more than I normally would be about this. Good news is it should be pretty easy the first couple of days. I have to be careful. I wasn't able to send a resupply until a couple of days ago. So we had to spend a bunch to get the resupply to Johnson Supply in time for the first stop. So I can't get there too quick or I might outrun it. I think it's supposed to get there Friday, so I get to take it easy at least for a few days. I've been fairly lucky, but years ago I decided to get braces and I went to Dr. Smile in a not so great area of town, appropriately named Journey's End. Yeah, Jen was so jealous of me getting to come out here. Very supportive, but also very jealous.
Jen, you're like, you are front and center.
And I am here. So the north end of the Long Trail is at the Canadian border. You can't drive up to the Canadian border. They pick some random spot. I had actually looked at getting dropped off further south and doing more of a backtrack. However, the friend of a friend who gave me a ride from the airport this morning was nice enough to drive me to the full lot here. So I only have, I think, 1.5 miles to cut across to the Canadian border. And then I am headed south. My tooth is still pretty painful. I am on 800 milligram doses of ibuprofen. And when that wears off, I really feel it. But hopefully that's not going to last too much longer. Hopefully. Part of the advantage of doing these trails was being out east. You don't have big wilderness stretches, so if I need to get into a town, I can get into a town. Tends to be more people around than, say, if I was back on the ADT. So I figured I would have options if anything catastrophic happened. Not that anything catastrophic would happen to me in 2025. No. Of course not. While I am cleared for activity, there is the chance of a reoccurrence of the HSP. I already had a minor outbreak during some of the Sierra stuff. Had to stop my tapering down of CellCept. And if I have a bad outbreak, it's possible I may have to come off trail for maybe a week, because if I have to take prednisone, you can't hike on that due to potential ligament damage. But you know, I'm a big believer that if you're waiting for perfect, you're never going to do anything. While there is a chance of medical complication, there always is, and I've never known anybody who had less complications as they get older. So better to do it with the situation I have now rather than wait a year or two and only to, in retrospect, look back and go, oh, I wish I'd done stuff then. So it is September 11th. As of right now, I think we leave for a scuba trip to Bonaire in 72 days, meaning I have 2 months and change to run amok out here. Plan is do the long trail. By the time I'm approaching southern Vermont, I should have a feel for how I'm doing and my timing, and at the very least go do the entire Bent Mackay for about 590 miles total. If I end up running ahead of schedule, when does that ever happen, I may try and do something else also, or just stay out on the AT for an extra week or two and start hiking north from Springer. I really love our life. All the sacrifices of comfort, etc., are worth it for the adventure, but every now and then when I'm not feeling well, it does kind of suck to have to, fly out to Vermont and start hiking while you've got a really painful open socket in your mouth. But hey, if I've learned one thing while through hiking, it's that whatever issues I'm struggling with right at the moment, I'm going to have completely different ones in a week or two. Probably way worse, so enjoy the painful tooth socket now. The good news is there's actually really pleasant weather right now. I came out locked and loaded with colder weather gear, expecting colder nights. It's been 60s and 70s during the day, 40s at night, and it's not supposed to rain for at least a couple days, which was not what I was expecting out here. My memories of Vermont and hell, most of the AT were wet. Plan is to be out here until November 20th or so I will probably get good use out of the warmer sleeping bag and everything, but I am carrying more of a load than I was in the Sierra Nevada a week or two ago. I am just really happy to be out here, though, both because of that long, dark nightmare in the hospital. I wasn't sure if I was ever getting back out for a little while there. And while I am a total Western States hiking snob, loving my big epic mountains and views, I did really love it out here every time I've hiked. Just all the greenery, the animals, the general very, very easy through hiking environment, lots of support, things like that. So I was quite happy when this plan won out against the others we looked at. My original recovery plan, the one I was aiming at during the whole HSP prednisone treatment, was the Arizona Trail, because accessible, relatively easy, and Jen could drop me off and, if need be, pick me up. And then when that fire destroyed the North Rim, I figured the AZT minus the Grand Canyon is like nachos minus the cheese. Why bother? So I started looking around. Thought I'd settled on the Superior Trail plus the Ouachita plus at least one of the Ozark Trail segments. But the more I looked at it, the more I was not so sure. The Superior Trail is part of the North Country Trail, and I am hoping to do that the year after Europe. So next summer is Yukon. Summer after that, hopefully Europe. Summer after that, probably North Country Trail. And there was going to be a lot of driving in between trails, which was going to be expensive if I have to do rental cars and all of that. Started looking out here. I even debated just getting on the Appalachian Trail for a while, because if you're going to through hike, that's about as easy as it gets. So many businesses cater to you, so much town access, yada yada. But I wanted to do something new. The long trail I did, the overlap part of the AT, and remember the area being muddy, humid, but really pretty. So the idea of getting back out here had a lot of appeal. Same with the Bent Mackay. I've seen, 50 some miles of the overlap that I used to connect the Pinhoti with the AT. So I like the idea of getting to do the rest of that. I did look at a number of other options out here. The East Coast has a ton of different trails. There were a lot that looked tempting. Sometimes things were too long. I looked really hard at like the Sheltowee Trace and a few others. That one had dog issues that I really didn't want to be dealing with. I also kind of wanted something that was a little more straightforward, that didn't have me stealth camping under threat like the ADT had. Because I even looked at that trail down in Mississippi, Louisiana, Bayou Trail. But yeah, I just wanted something straightforward because I feared I was going to be struggling enough after a couple of months on prednisone and with all the ongoing issues. In the wilderness class, this is one of the debates we've had, calling something easy, because if you're dragging your butt up some rocky pinnacle at 12, 13,000 feet, there is no easy. Easy is sitting at home on the couch watching TV or YouTube. But there are easier and there are harder type trips. And this looked like it was going to be, if not easy, at least more on the accessible side. I feel kind of bummed about the AZT because I was really looking forward to that. First time I tried it, I got screwed over by the Grand Canyon Glisten due to snow, and the second time it's due to fire. It's like somebody's trying to tell me something. So out here, like I said, weather conditions look like they are reasonable for the moment. Everybody's been telling me things are a little bit drier and a little bit cooler than usual. Granted, climate change, things have been adjusting. I was just talking to the guy that dropped me off about that, and we were lamenting just changes we've seen in the last decade. I am expecting to have water. I may have to pay attention a little bit, but nothing like what would happen if I was back on the American Discovery Trail. I really wanted to finish that Moab to San Francisco bit. I don't like having that outstanding, have it over my head. Oh yeah, East Coast. What's a switchback? However, that was going to be remote, hard to get to. Big water carries, big food carries. And if I had a problem, a dismount would be problematic. So, discretion over valor, and plan is to do it next fall after the Yukon. We're basically taking the same plan we had this summer, and we're going to redo it this coming summer. Hopefully. Assuming I survive 2025, which at this point I don't think I would put money down on my survival, but what you gonna do? Jen kept glaring at me on the way to the airport because I was joking about how I was gonna get taken out by a moose or God knows what out here. And the after action report was gonna be like, yeah, why the hell did he go out? He couldn't take a hint. It's like that one scene in Orgasmo where he's asking for a sign whether he should take this job, and there's an earthquake. He's like, any sign, God, any sign at all. Bigger earthquake, statue of the Virgin Mary falls over and breaks. So today is Thursday. Theoretically, the food resupply that I will be getting in 4 days should arrive at the place where I bought fuel this morning tomorrow. I say theoretically because there seems to be more issues with the mail system yet again. I actually had a pack bean sent to me. I was really excited to test out. ULA guys sent it to me. And then it ended up getting a sorting error, went to the wrong place. And now it's supposed to arrive in Orange County today. So Jen is going to try and send it forward to me at some point. My two big known complications are going to be getting the test pack, sending this one back home So I have my Ultra Catalyst. And ideally, I am hoping to swap out my iPhone. I usually try and do that on trail because I like to test the new camera while I'm out here. Their iUp program replacement works really well if you have a mailing address, not so much if you are remote. So my plan is going to be to try and just this year get into an Apple store and see if I can swap it out. Probably while traveling between the Long Trail and the Bent Mackay. If I go straight from the Long Trail to Bent Mackay, oh yeah, did I mention there are shelters out here? It's like the AT minus the crowds. Both this and Bent Mackay. Anyway, somebody was just telling me about some cool 130-some 200-mile trail up in New York. Part of me was like, I could maybe fit that in. If you followed me in 2021, we joked about being massetators, the shelter haters, because we always like to stay outside the shelters in the tent. That's probably what I'm going to do, because these are cool. Appreciate the privies and everything. But I like being in the tent. I don't like sleeping in close quarters with random other people. I saw so many people on the AT jammed into shelters like hot dogs. And glad they're having a good time. Glad it's more accessible for them, but just not what I'm out here for. So we'll see. I've stayed at the occasional shelters on less busy trails, but I also just find my tent generally, warmer. I've got everything right there. And because I have a tent with a rain fly, I can handle setting it up in rain and breaking it down and manage that way for a couple of days. Some folks I met on the AT, Creature and Dead Horse, were out doing a good chunk of the Long Trail recently. From their pictures, I was really expecting it to be less mild than this, but bound to get lucky weather-wise every now and then, right? After I got nailed in the Sierra with those unseasonable storms. I really wasn't sure how to size this trip. I know the northern end is the harder end, and 18 miles, you do less miles than you do on something like the PCT. So the Sierra stuff, I was planning it at 15. I think we did the resupplies for this one, at least the first couple, assuming I was closer to like 12 miles a day. And then you always adjust once you get out here and you figure out how things are going. Because again, I was on prednisone for 2.5 months. I've been working my ass off to get back out here. The moment I was clear and allowed to hike, I was doing a whole lot of 6-mile PCT hikes. Hell, they were shorter than that in the beginning because I could hardly make it 2 miles first time I went out. And I've just been hammering that nonstop through all the other issues with the singular goal of getting back out on trail in fall. The doctors were all really supportive. One of them said people tend to have better outcomes when they have a solid goal, which I've seen. Years ago, I was going to a gym and there was this really awesome guy who unfortunately had to have one of his feet removed. It's actually cut the leg off below the knee due to a medical complication. And he went into it with his goal of what he was going to hike as an amputee. And I always respected that. A lot of people have better mental health in general than me, but it's at least something to aim for. So as soon as I came to terms with the fact that the Yukon couldn't happen this past summer, that I was basically going to be homebound, largely bedbound, I started talking with, I think it was the rheumatologist or the hospitalist at the time, saying, okay, this is what I'm aiming for September. And every step of the way, medication, yada, yada, has all been looked at through that lens. And I'm out here. If I drop dead in the first 10 miles, at least I'm dropping dead out on trail instead of back in Irvine. And when I say things like that, just picture Jen watching this back in civilization, disapproving strongly. There was a register at the journey's end trailhead back there with a non-functional pen, so I really don't have a sense for how busy this trail is, other than I know that this in the Bent Mackay I often hear talked about by people who didn't want to deal with the AT crowds. But don't worry, I'll get to say hi to the AT crowds down at the bottom, because southern part of the trail overlaps with the AT for a while. And yes, I'm going to redo that, because come on, it'd be silly to just walk across part of Vermont. East Coast memories. No damn views until you get to an overlook. Oh, I do really like it out here, though. We'll see if I retain that through the duration of this hike. Oh, yeehaw. And if it isn't my old friend, the border stripe. I get to hike along that on the IAT in Maine. It is far less pleasant than you would expect. Because you see all this brush and everything? Yeah, it was like that, except it had beavers. And there was some debate whether they were American beavers messing up the Canadian side or Canadian beavers messing up the American side. I do really appreciate the easy monument access, though. This is better than the CDT had up at whatever that Peace Park was. Okay. 200 some miles, I think, on this one, 300, something like that. There's great irony to something called the long trail being so short when it comes to, like, you know, modern day through hiking trail standards. Okay, so that's the parking lot at Journey's End, and this should be me. The fact that this trail does get a lot of care and trail maintenance was one of the other reasons I decided to do it versus some of the more wildernessy options I was looking at. And we are back in Blaze territory. Barely have to look at my map. Gotta love the East Coast. You wouldn't believe how much I save on sunscreen out here. So my first resupply is at mile 50 at that Johnson hardware outfitter. I have about 4 days of food on my back, so I'm being pretty cautious initially. But I also don't have to push it if the tooth throbbing gets to be too much. Okay. Oh, I really have missed it out this way. Why can't I go hike all the places all the times? Okay, we're back to this, are we? Okay, I guess I got a little too excited. It said lookout, and I was expecting a view, but Must be one of those things only when there aren't leaves on the tree. Note to self, always check far out comments before hiking to a overlook. So I don't know how far I'm going to go today. I'm going to go to Burnt Mountain and fill up water because I started with a partial today. Drink a bunch and 12-ish miles. So maybe J Camp. So met my first person. There is, I assume he says north because I've been going through a lot of cobwebs. I'm just here to fill up and then I'm going to continue on. Okay. Pitcher pump it is. Okay. All filled up until evening. Is surprisingly chilly when you're drinking cold water and the wind picks up. Can't complain though. The weather is really, really nice compared with what I remember from the AT. A gentleman I saw at the shelter came down to fill water. He is section hiking the long trail. Seems like he was just doing a short little section and is almost done. Out of curiosity, I checked the recent comments feature in Far Out, which is generally the easiest way to tell if anybody is around. And it does not seem so. There are some recent-ish comments from the south end, but not anything up here. Oh, it feels amazing to be out here. Don't have much of a view, but what I got is pretty. Fun times. The climb up Jay and Dahl has been fun. Steep. It's just kind of slow going because I got to watch my footing, which is fine. There's actually a shelter at the base here, and if If there's nobody there, I may actually cut it there. That'll get me 10 miles for the first day, and that works. I'm supposed to be taking it easy for a few days till the tooth socket hopefully heals more anyway. I was just sitting here and thinking I'd settle in, and that guy came by. He's also headed southbound, started today. He said he saw one other person behind. So now I'm torn. I was just gonna stay here, but I really don't like camping in groups for multiple reasons. Somebody shows up later, I'd just pack up and go, but that can be kind of a pain. Granted, that guy's going to Jay, so he's going to be at the next shelter. Apparently there are nice views out there. But I may stick with my plan and stay here. In worst case, if somebody else shows up, I can just relocate to one of these tent areas. That'll at least give me a little privacy. It does seem like actual camp spots are a little sparse. And up ahead on Jay, it's a ski area, so even more sparse. I'm kind of torn. I'm really happy to have company because I was really isolated while I was sick. You know, I didn't see anybody other than Jen, nurses and doctors, for a couple of months there. But again, I don't come out here to sleep around a bunch of other folks. So I'm gonna go get water, see if anybody else shows up, and then maybe either settle in or find a tent spot somewhere. That is a nice little improvement. I felt like I was the only one out here, and I was actually about to set up in the shelter when my Czech Republic friend showed up. He went on. He's going to stay at J Camp, which is close to a road. Apparently had a problematic, homeless guy with a knife and a bunch of alcohol 2 months ago. So, yeah, I'm going to stay here, though. My tooth is killing me at the moment. Tried to stretch pain pills, and I can't do that right now. This isn't quite ideal. I would rather be further away. There was actually a really nice spot I would have liked at the top of the last peak, but I'm not going to backtrack a mile just to get that. Hopefully I can start getting more dispersed sites as I get on a little further. Seems like the options have been kind of limited so far. Home sweet home.